Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another unsolved mysteries video for you guys. I love doing these videos because I think it's one, obviously interesting, but two, I also think it's really important to talk about unsolved mysteries, mostly because obviously someone out there knows something, so obviously the more people talk about it, the more awareness is spread. So if you guys have any information on either of these cases, I will have resources linked below where you can share this info. But without further ado, let's get into the unsolved mysteries. The first unsolved mystery we're going to be talking about is the disappearance of Lars Mittank. So Lars was born on February 9th of 1986 in Berlin, Germany. He worked at a power plant, he visited his parents often, he had many friends, a girlfriend. He was described as a very normal person. When Lars was 28 years old, him and a few of his friends decided to take a vacation to Varna, Bulgaria. This was actually Lars's first time ever leaving Germany, so it was a big deal and he was quite excited about it, and him and his friends were set off to have a great time at a very nice resort. They stayed at the Golden Sands Resort and really had a lot of fun just hanging out on the beach, going clubbing, swimming, playing soccer, the whole 9 yards. They were just really enjoying themselves, and according to all of Lars's friends, he was acting incredibly normally whilst on this vacation and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. So like I said, Lars's friends didn't think that there was anything out of the ordinary with Lars's behavior until the end of the trip. On July 6th of 2014, the day before they were supposed to head home, Lars and his friends were at a bar in town when Lars got into quite the disagreement with other German men about soccer. Something that I just don't really get. I don't know if this is just because I don't like sports, but I feel like people are so drama about the way that they fight over sports, but besides the point. They got into a very big argument. Lars left the bar, he tried to go back to the hotel. On his way back, he got beat up by 4 men who he believes were hired by the German men that he fought with at the bar. Which again, I feel like is drama, but like, I think it actually does happen. Like, sports fights are kind of a big thing and I don't get it. Like, you're not even playing the sport. Why are you so upset by it? To hire 4 men to like beat someone up who disagreed with you is like insane, but whatever. So the following morning when they were supposed to go home, Lars ended up telling his friends that he got beat up, he had an injured jaw and a ruptured eardrum, which he then was advised by a doctor that he saw to not fly that day because of the eardrum. They prescribed him an antibiotic and sent him on his way. Lars's friends wanted to stay with him and just make sure he was okay, but Lars insisted that he would be fine on his own and that they should go home as scheduled, and they did. Lars ended up checking out of the resort at the same time that his friends did, and he opted for a cheaper, closer to the airport option at the Hotel Color Varna, and he intended to just stay there for the night and fly home the next day. The day after Lars's friends left, he began to act extremely panicked and just paranoid for seemingly no reason. He called his mother Sandra in a whisper and told her that she should cancel his credit cards because there were people who were trying to kill him or rob him. This obviously freaked his mom out, but he insisted that he would be okay and he was just gonna get on the flight tomorrow and he'll text her when he gets to the airport. There's a lot of security footage of Lars just pacing up and down hotel hallways. He was at one point even hiding in the elevator, looking out windows and just acting extremely erratic. He ended up leaving the hotel at around 1 a.m. and returned back an hour later, but no one knows where he went or who he met with. Honestly, anything could have happened in that hour. On the morning of July 8th, 2014, he called his mother again and told her that the people who were pursuing him to kill him were getting closer. Nonetheless, Lars arrived at the Varna airport and he texted his mom saying that he had arrived at the airport, so she thought everything was gonna be okay and he was just going to return home safely. However, once he arrived at the airport, he wanted to check with the airport doctor to make sure that he was safe to fly. So he met up with Dr. Kosta Kostov, who described his behavior as nervous and erratic, but he ultimately told him that he was allowed to fly and that his eardrum was fine. But Lars didn't leave his office and instead expressed doubt about the medicine he was prescribed. At the same time, like, the airport was going under construction, so a construction worker entered the office and Lars began panicking and screaming and saying, "I don't want to die here. I have to get out of here." He got up and left all of his luggage behind, including his wallet, his cell phone, his passport, literally all of his belongings and was captured by airport security cameras fleeing the terminal. Then once he was outside, the security cameras caught him jogging away from the airport and climbing a fence and running into a meadow and sprinting off camera in a direction of an adjacent nearby forest. And this was the last time that Lars was ever seen. Obviously, searches went on. It was very confusing. No one knew what happened or what caused this psychotic break. A lot of people, including Lars's mother, believe that Lars's unusual behavior had something to do with the antibiotic he was taking. He was taking cefprozil, which can be known to induce psychotic side effects, including hallucinations and paranoia. However, something that's interesting is that according to the airport doctor Kostov, Lars had not even filled his prescription for this antibiotic, and he was not at all taking it. That kind of puts some holes in that theory, but it is interesting nonetheless. It's also important that Lars's mother claims that he never dealt with any other mental illness and didn't even think that the possibility of a mental breakdown like this, and had never seen her son act in anywhere near close to this manner. So I think that's really interesting to point out. Of course, there could be a ton of different mental illnesses that go undiagnosed, and then having a psychotic break is part of that and part of the figuring it out, but it still doesn't really answer many questions. Mostly because we don't really know how much of Lars's paranoia was rooted in reality, which is a scary thought. Lars's mother ended up being very disappointed with the way that the case was being treated. She felt like the police weren't doing everything that they could to help find her son, so she ended up hiring a private investigator. The private investigator checked hospital records for people without identification and ended up finding nothing, and ultimately nothing new was found. About a year after his disappearance, a truck driver thought that he saw Lars hitchhiking in Varna. There were multiple sightings of him that were unconfirmed, but that kind of happens a lot with missing persons cases. Obviously, there's a lot of people who look like a lot of people, so it's unclear whether or not these are accurate. In 2019, a German truck driver gave a hitchhiker a ride, and he apparently looked exactly like an older version of Lars. The truck driver did not know about this story at the time, but after finding out about the story, he was like, I literally gave that guy a ride. He just had longer hair, a beard, tired eyes, and more prominent cheekbones, which that kind of makes sense as you age. Obviously, the volume in your face goes down. That's like a known thing, so it kind of makes sense, and it's very, very interesting because we only have questions, we have no answers, no leads, and I feel like there were so many stones that were left unturned in this case, which is why it has not been solved. Although the case remains completely unsolved, Lars's mother, Sandra, still firmly believes that her son is out there somewhere and possibly suffers from memory loss. I don't even know what I think happened in this case because it is so confusing and there are so many details about it that just don't add up. Because the fight actually occurred. He did legitimately get beat up. Like, that wasn't paranoia. Like, he was acting completely normally before this point. Would someone really kill someone over sports like debate? Like, I do not know, but it is very scary to think about because it's freaking me out to think how much of this paranoia was rooted in reality, or if it was all real, like genuinely someone was trying to kill him. It just doesn't make sense because the fact that he went missing, like, it's one thing to have a psychotic break, but this guy literally is gone, just completely vanished into thin air. That is what I find to be extremely terrifying about this case. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this and where you think Lars could be or what happened. There probably was someone that was out to get him because, like, I just don't see how he would just go missing. It's just very, very strange. But let me know what you guys think. The next case we're going to be talking about is all about a boy named Bryce Laspisa, who was born in Naperville, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. Bryce was known to be very social. He had a lot of friends that he would hang out with often. He was very close with his parents. His parents referred to their relationship with Bryce to be very open. They would talk about literally anything and everything, and he always felt comfortable to share whatever was going on in his life with his parents. When Bryce graduated high school, him and his family ended up moving to Laguna, California. Bryce began attending Sierra College in Rockland, California, which was approximately 7 hours north of Laguna Beach. He went there to study graphic and industrial design. He again made a lot of friends there. He was a very likable guy. He began dating a girl named Kim Sly, who also went to the school, and he seemed to be really enjoying his life there. In the summer of 2013, Bryce's close friend and roommate, Sean, began to notice that Bryce was really getting into heavy drinking. He was going out every night and drinking a lot of alcohol, and it started to concern Sean. Bryce also began taking amphetamines that are commonly used to treat ADHD, which he was not prescribed. He was just taking it so that he could stay up late and play video games. Bryce's overall behavior just became very concerning. On August 28th of 2013, Bryce did something extremely strange and out of character for him. He abruptly gifted his Xbox to Sean and a pair of diamond earrings, and he wrote him a pretty cryptic text. He said, "I love you, bro. Seriously, you're the best person I've ever met. You saved my soul." Later that day, Bryce ended up breaking up with Kim and claiming that she would be better off without him. He also told her that he wanted to go home to Laguna to tell his parents something really important and that he was going to drive home to tell them. However, Kim noticed that his behavior was really erratic and strange, so she actually took his keys, just trying to make sure that he would not go anywhere or do anything hurt himself, or she was just really confused by his behavior overall. Kim got so concerned she ended up calling Bryce's family and told his mom that she was really worried about him, and she made Bryce talk to his mom, and Bryce was like, "It's fine. I just have to tell you something, so I'm gonna come home and tell you." And Bryce's mom was like, "No, like, let us fly to you. Like, it's fine. Like, I can get on a flight tomorrow. Like, please don't drive." Ultimately convinced his mom that he was fine and that Kim was just upset that he broke up with her. And ultimately, he convinced his mom to let him drive home. So his mom then convinced Kim to let Bryce take the keys. In the early morning of August 29th, 2013, Bryce's mom, Karen, received a missed call from Bryce. At 11 a.m., Bryce's parents received a phone call from their insurance company notifying them that Bryce had called roadside assistance earlier that morning. So Bryce needed help because he ran out of gas in Buttonwillow, California, which was kind of the midpoint between his apartment and his parents' house. Christian, an employee of Castro Tire and Truck Services, had delivered 3 gallons of gas to Bryce at 9 a.m. At this point, his parents just assumed he was still on his way home and that he would be home shortly, but once noon rolled around and Bryce wasn't there, they started to worry that something went wrong. Bryce's mom, Karen, ended up calling the insurance company to try to talk to Christian, who was the one who helped Bryce with the gas. Christian kindly offered to go check to see if he was still in Buttonwillow where he had left him, and he ended up finding Bryce in the exact same spot that he left him at 9 a.m. He claimed that Bryce's eyes looked super red. He wanted to make sure that Bryce spoke to his mother. He talked to his mom and assured that he would be home by 3 p.m. No one knows why Bryce was just sitting there for 3 hours, what he was doing, who he was talking to. All of it is confusing. Once again, Bryce failed to show up, and at 6 p.m., after several hours of no word from Bryce, his parents reported him missing. Police pinged Bryce's cell phone and learned that he was still in Buttonwillow, California, and found him parked on the side of the road about 8 miles from his last location. The officer spoke to Bryce and let him know that his parents were very concerned, and the officer claimed that Bryce seemed completely normal, which I think is the weirdest part of it. He claimed that he was just simply sitting there, relaxing and letting off steam before he started driving again. Basically taking a break, but again, this is like a 12-hour break for driving. It was a little strange. Honestly, I am unsure why Bryce's parents didn't just go drive there. There's a lot of things about this case that doesn't make sense. Bryce even passed a sobriety test, and the police officers asked if they could search his car for any drug paraphernalia or drugs. They found nothing, and he agreed perfectly fine to take the sobriety test and let them search his car, and everything appeared to be super normal, so they let him continue on with his journey. But they told him that he needed to contact his mom first. When his mom asked him what he was doing, he just answered so simply, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just putting my stuff back in the car because the police searched it." Everything about his behavior just seems super strange, which is weird to me because obviously the officer said his behavior was normal, but I don't know. He also claimed to his mom that he was still there because he was waiting to meet up with friends, but who these friends are and why he had to wait so long is a mystery still. That night, Christian missed another phone call from Karen. When he called back, he learned that Bryce was still not home, so he offered to go look again. And he found him right where police had left him. Christian told him that he needed to start driving home. He even offered to follow him in his own car for a bit just to make sure he got on his way. And Bryce actually ended up agreeing to this, and Christian followed him for about 10 miles before pulling over to let Karen know that her son was now officially on his way home. Bryce stopped to get gas and a soda at 12:30 a.m. and 20 minutes later, Karen called him with no answer. At 1:50 a.m., his parents called him again, and this time he picked up. He was super evasive about their questions, like he refused to give a precise location. He claimed that there was no signs around him and it was too dark to see any landmarks, so he had no idea where he was, which just doesn't make sense. He was just acting super strange, but he told his parents that according to his GPS, he would be home at 3:25 a.m. He spoke to his parents once again for the final time at 2:09 a.m. and he told them that he was tired and he planned to pull over to take a nap. Bryce's parents woke up the next morning to the sound of the doorbell and they rushed to the door expecting it to be Bryce. But it was unfortunately a police officer who was asking them if they owned a 2003 beige Toyota Highlander. Bryce's parents explained to the officer that that was their son's car, and the officer explained that they had found the car abandoned at the bottom of a 25-foot embankment near Caustic Lake at 5:30 a.m. The car was lying on its side and the rear windshield was broken. And the authorities believe that Bryce had broken the window after the crash in order to get out of the SUV. His wallet, his cell phone, and his laptop were all still found inside the car. There were also 2 small drops of Bryce's blood that were found, so it seemed like he sustained minor injuries. Officers actually examined the tracks of the car and it seemed like he accelerated down the hill. It led many people wondering if this crash was intentional. Canine search teams ended up tracking Bryce's scent all the way down Lake Hughes Road to a gas station and a truck stop, but that's where the scent completely ended and no one knows where he went after that. Karen was displeased with the way that her son's case was being handled, so she ended up also hiring a private investigator to try to find out any information that they could, but ultimately this investigator was unable to determine anything new. But they came up with the theory that Bryce suffered some sort of head injury during this accident that caused him to have severe memory loss. I don't really think that that theory makes too much sense though. In theory, if that did happen and you had really bad memory loss from accident, I feel like the first thing that you would do is like try to find a hospital. Usually people with amnesia like know like how to like things work, but they don't remember like specific things about their life or like who they are, but they like know like what a hospital is and they know how to talk. Doesn't that seem normal, like that he would have just gone to a hospital and been like, I don't know who I am? And I don't know, like it just doesn't add up. Police initially believed that Bryce took his own life because of how erratic and strange his behavior was. Leading up to his disappearance like indicated a possibility of suicidal thoughts. So a lot of people believe that that's what happened, but it still doesn't add up to like where he went from the car crash, why he crashed the car in the first place. So many things don't make sense. And his parents really strongly disagree with this theory, claiming that they don't believe that he would ever take his own life. And even if he did, where is he? There's still so many unanswered questions about this case and it remains completely unsolved, but his family believe that he is still out there and alive. Some people even believe that he disappeared to just completely change his identity and take on a whole new persona to get rid of something that he possibly did. Maybe that's what he was going home to tell his parents, that he did something bad, and instead of telling them and bringing the burden onto them, he just decided to clean slate it and completely exist as a different person. I don't know. There have been so many unconfirmed sightings of Bryce over the years in states like Oregon, California, Texas. However, since he vanished, there has been no activity on his bank account, credit cards, social security number, or passport. So if he is assuming a new identity, it's interesting to think about, but I don't even know what kind of planning he would have had to do prior to that. Ultimately, a very scary thought and a very, very interesting case, and I would love to hear your guys' theories on this. And if you have any information on any of these cases, I will have all of the websites linked of where you can go if you think you know anything, because it is very important to get unsolved cases to be solved, because somewhere out there somebody knows something. That is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these unsolved mysteries, and if you have any unsolved cases that you want me to cover, please let me know. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.